Hey everyone, it is Annekkipu again. Recently, I've been working on a video about hands and fingers symbolism in real-life cultures and how it may have inspired some Elden Ring designs and concepts. And in preparation for it, I went down the gruesome rabbit hole of all things fingers in this game. I have been really into Elden Ring for years at this point. Still, I discovered a lot of details I either did not know or simply didn't find important before. I hope you will learn something new today too, and if you know something I missed, please share it in the comments. Let's jump straight into the Elden Ring finger iceberg. Tarnished wizened finger. The tip of the iceberg starts with the multiplayer items. Right at the beginning of the game, on a body of a young woman, we can find Tarnished wizened finger, a corpse wax finger, so emaciated the bone is visible. This relic of the Tarnished who came before allows you to leave the messages for those who would come after, and so we learn that fingers can somehow pass down the knowledge in the lands between, and that finger was important enough for this lady to keep. Tarnished's furled finger and finger severe. At the stranded graveyard, you can find Tarnished's furled finger, a finger of corpse wax, alongside with a finger severe, a phantom blade, with which you can cut the link between the furled finger and the host of fingers. Interestingly, the description says that the maidens scorn those who abuse its use. Which maidens, we do not know yet. Tarnished terminology. What we do know is that the Tarnished whose world you join or invade is called specifically a host of fingers of that world, not the host of the world, and if you are invited, you become a furled finger. Through their fingers, the Tarnished are connected with each other. Finger maidens. The first alive person all of us met in Limgrave is White Mask Vare. He tells us that as Tarnished, we happen to be maidenless, but we are yet to uncover what that would mean for us as we follow the path he suggests to the Stormwale Castle. There we meet Melina, a finger maiden, searching for her Tarnished. She explains that these maidens serve the two fingers, aiding their Tarnished, turning the runes into strings, and guiding them in search for the Elden Ring. Melina would also suggest to take us to the Round Table Hall, the gathering place of the champions, guided by grace. These are the functions of a finger maiden. The two fingers. Within the Round Table Hall reside the two fingers. This pair of hairy digits guides the Tarnished, sharing the orders of the Greater Will. To earn an audience with them, you need to meet a certain requirement, and inside their chamber we meet Enya. Enya is a finger reader who translates the wisdom of the two fingers. Finger readers. The old women who used to serve the fingers. Without a master to serve, they are eager to read the words of the Greater Will through the fingers of Tarnished. Once again, we see how our own fingers can be used as a medium to reach the other worlds. Fingers do not speak. The two fingers do not speak, they tremble, and qualified people, including the finger readers, can translate their movements into the common language. Brother Corin. Another devoted servant of the two fingers and precisely the orthodox organization called the Golden Order is Brother Corin, a man of cloth as he describes himself. He also can read and translate the rhythm of the fingers, and he can teach you incantations. Incantations, or the way of channeling magic based on the person's faith, was granted to the inhabitants of the lands between by the two fingers. This practice can be seen as opposing to sorcery, where one bases their magic-wielding abilities on their intellect. Finger seal. A seal used to cast incantations bestowed by a finger maiden. Two Fingers Prayer Book. A collection of incantations taught to the chosen Tarnished by the two fingers. Doubtful Tarnished. Not all Tarnished blindly follow the orders of the two fingers. Some even turn their back on the mediators of the Greater Will. If you return to White Mask Vare after progressing in your journey, he would ask your opinion about the fingers. If similarly to him you doubt their intent and care about your kind, he will grant you 3 festering bloody fingers. Festering bloody finger. Another type of severed finger you can buy or find in the lands between. Its purpose is to invade another tarnished with a murderous attempt. Remarkably, these fingers seem to have been chopped off unceremoniously, and the fact that they are being sold means some tarnished hunt and slice the fingers of their kin for an extra rune. Phantom bloody finger. After invading someone's world, you're granted these items so you can re-invade the same host in case something goes wrong. Mogwin rituals. If you successfully invade 3 other tarnished, Vare would invite you to join him in service for the Lord of Blood Mog. Agree and he would give you a white cloth that you are to soak in the blood of a finger maiden. This would be your way to denounce your connection with the 2 fingers. If you succeed, Vare would infuse your finger with Mog's noble blood, anointing the new knight of the Mogwin dynasty. Bloody finger. Your own finger, a bit bluish and in pain after your nail got punctured. Just how much power over your being is given to the Lord of Blood, considering how important fingers are to the tarnished in the lands between. Bloody fingers. Other knights of Mogwin dynasty, those who serve Luminary Mog, become thirsty for bloodshed. Nereus, Okina, Violet Bloody Finger Eleonora are some of them. Eleonora, the deadliest of the knights, seemed to be very important to a man from the land of reeds we meet in Limgrave. Bloody Finger Hunter Yura, swordsman who hunts down the tarnished obsessed with Sesblood. He will eventually fall from Eleonora's blade, but Yura's story would not end there. To free Eleonora from her curse, he slices off her finger during their fight, even if it cost him his own life. Was Eleonora a finger maiden? When dying at the Second Church of America, Yura would say the following: "Please, please, Eleonora, yield to the Sesblood no longer. Do not stain the immaculacy of your sword, your flesh, your fire." It is obvious that before succumbing to madness, Eleonora was very dear to Yura. Finger maidens that guide the tarnished are supposed to be able to envision the fire, so that their chosen tarnished can proceed with the task given by the 2 fingers. Was Eleonora Yura's finger maiden, who eventually left the teachings of the fingers, joining the Knights of Mogwin dynasty to become the most deadly of them all? You may argue saying that the 2 fingers become horrified when they realize you need to burn down the earth tree, so the vision of fire possessed by the maidens is not part of their plan. Nonetheless, you have to do it to restore the Elden Ring. It is not unique to the story of you and Melina, as another tarnished from the Round Table Hall was once the closest to succeeding the throne, but gave up so he could save his maiden from becoming a kindling. Fake finger maidens. Besides Melina and the deceased lady from the beginning of the game, we meet 3 other characters that wear the Finger Maiden's attire. The only one that the game openly calls a Finger Maiden is Theralina, who we first encounter at Radahn's festival. However, Theralina is no longer alive as her body became a puppet controlled by a Carian sorcerer. The description of the puppet says, "A maiden without a tarnished without a maiden, and yet no guide to bring them together." Another young lady we meet who is wearing Finger Maiden's clothes is Irina of Morn. Although dressed like one, Irina never mentions that she is a Finger Maiden or is looking to become one. Considering the fact her father secreted her out of the castle, maybe it was simply her disguise. Strangely enough, in Liurnia, we meet a Finger Maiden who looks exactly like Irina. Haeda. There is no reason for her to be like Irina or say the exact similar phrase about her vision problem. There is no reason for her to say exactly the same lines when attacked. Who are the other people giving her Shabriri grapes that she's talking about? How does she know about the fingerprint grapes? If she truly wishes to become a Finger Maiden, how come she decides to side with the heresy? There is a theory speculating that Hayata is actually either Irina possessed by Shabriri, similarly to Yura later in the game, or some sort of creature that copied her appearance to guide the chosen tarnished to the Three Fingers. The Three Fingers. Deep in the underground catacombs of Leyndell reside the very different fingers, who believe the Greater Will made a mistake creating life, and the world should become one again, return to its primordial state without order, cleansed by the yellow flame of frenzy. Fingerprints as a way to communicate. The Three Fingers do not need a finger reader to translate their rhythms. They share their wisdom by imprinting their fingerprints. Similarly, by touching Hayata after receiving the burnt marks, we share the words of the Three Fingers with her. If the Two Fingers share the Greater Will's messages through their rhythms, the information that is possessed by the Three Fingers seems to be only copy-pasted to new carriers. Fingerprint grapes. It seems that the touch of the Three Fingers does not leave literal three fingerprints, but covers the tarnished's entire body with the Medan script, including their own eyes. The only known tarnished to receive the privilege was Vike, the failed lord of the Frenzied Flame. Vike, the closest tarnished to ever get to the throne of Elden Lord, who intended to fail either to save his maiden or for different reasons, was once the part of the Round Table Hall. Who was the previous chosen tarnished? In the dialogue with Enya, we learned that only once before she had seen two great runes together, meaning only once before the Two Fingers she serves had granted a tarnished their audience. Was that tarnished Vike during the times he was a champion of the Round Table Hall? And if so, how did Sir Gideon communicate with the Two Fingers? And why does Enya say the fingers expect as much from you as they do young Gideon? All-knowing as he is, it might have been Sir Gideon Ofner who was entitled to the audience with the Two Fingers at the Round Table Hall. Other Two Fingers. If Vike was not the chosen tarnished, how come he was known as the closest one to lordship before his descent to the catacombs, where he met the Three Fingers? According to Rani, each of the Empyrean demigods were chosen by their own Two Fingers. Indeed, on our journey we encounter other pairs of fingers on top of the divine towers scattered around the lands between. All these fingers, however, are deceased prior to the events of the game, either because the Greater Will abandoned the demigods, or maybe for some other reasons. All except one pair that Rani needs our assistance to kill. So, in theory, other Two Fingers could have guided Tarnished as well, and Vike could have been chosen by another pair. Are Two Fingers a memory? The Round Table Hall we visit seems to be an exact copy of the place we can find in Leyndell, except it seems to be the past version of the same building. If you pay attention to Enya's words, she says, "Young Gideon," and this man is anything but young. Since demigods and champions are hewn by the Earth Tree upon their end into remembrances, can this place be just a memory of the Round Table Hall during its full glory, stored in the Earth Tree, that we somehow can access through grace? Was it all Gideon's plan? Sir Gideon, as we know, spent quite some time communicating with the Two Fingers. He was even granted an incantation by the mediums of the Greater Will, and considering his extensive database of knowledge about everything in the lands between, could it be that it was his plan to create a pocket realm from his memories, the days when he was a young champion? Could he have gone as far as locking all of his dark secrets, shutting all the doors so the phantoms of his peers would never get their revenge? Does he have anything to do with the fact that all the Two Fingers, except for the ones in this corner of memory, are dead, and no other Tarnished would ever see their guidance? Perhaps the reason Corin says there are few Tarnished left these days who can still see it. And most importantly, if the Fingers talked to young Gideon, are the doors now closed because he is no longer worthy, so he uses us as a way to get information from the fingers. Lord Contender. We can fight Bike, the failed Lord of Frenzied Flame, in the Lord Contender's Ever Jail. Considering everything else we've discussed, I initially thought that Sir Gideon might have had a hand in it, believing a former champion peer was his contender on the way to lordship. But Gideon did not have access to mountaintops of the giants, so was it Radagon, the current Elden Lord, who locked Bike in this prison? Or was it one of the demigods, since Radagon and Marika were stuck inside the Earth Tree this whole time, and it was their kids who warred for the shards of their power? Duelist's Furled Finger. Near the Colosseum in Limgrave, a duelist's furled finger can be found. A spirit nearby complains that all he wanted was to fight. Did he cut his finger to be able to visit other Tarnished and pursue his passion after the Colosseums were closed by the Golden Order, and the champions who once fought in them were exiled to wander the land? Recusant Finger. In one of the rooms of the Volcano Manor, the recusant finger can be found. Its description reads, "This furled finger is covered in snake scales, an heirloom of the lord of the Volcano Manor, bequeathed to Tarnished who have become family. Seems to be a finger cut from Rykard himself. If the goal of the recusants of the Volcano Manor is to invade and kill the host of fingers, what difference does their group have from Bloody Fingers?" Egon's Finger. In the DLC, we can summon another warrior for the fight with the legendary dragon Bale. "My soul yet lies on the mountain," he tells us. Was that finger the only way to preserve his existence in his unending battle with the dragon? Cutting Fingers. As a way to gain knowledge, secure a connection, or take away the powers of another person, cutting fingers of oneself or others is practiced in the lands between. Two fingers are the mediums of the greater will, but Tarnished fingers are their mediums with the world around them. Two fingers grant immortality. Those who serve the two fingers are granted immortality. The two maiden husks we can find in the Round Table Hall seem to be the case. Their mortal bodies long withered, they still are turning runes into strengths for the Tarnished. Finger readers like Enya have no troubles waiting thousands of moons for the two fingers to think about what to say. Fingers are antennas. The way the two fingers communicate with the greater will reminds many of the antennas catching the signals. Greater will's location. If it takes hundreds or thousands of moons for the two fingers to communicate with the greater will, just how far away could it be? Dead fingers. Although giving immortality to their chosen servants, the two fingers can die or be killed. Tarnished Kinship. The description of the finger severe mentions that the maidens scorn at those who abuse its use. If the finger maidens look down on those Tarnished who refuse to help their kin, does that mean that in the bigger picture there's no competition for lordship? The greater will does not care how the goal would be reached. Confessors. Spies of the Church of Two Fingers, who served Round Table Hall as assassins. Tarnished hunting down their own kin is seen as blasphemy, unless the greater will orders so. Two fingers in other lands. The churches outside of lands between are said to worship the two fingers as well. Finger beliefs. In the common religion of the lands between, Marika is considered a god, while the two fingers are worshipped as prophets. However, it seems like before Marika, the fingers were respected as well. The Cathedral of Manus Matter is built purposefully over the finger ruins, and Count Emir is highly knowledgeable about all things fingers. He even desires to become a mother to fingers. Finger robe. An example of how the fingers can be birthed. The mother of fingers. In a pocket realm somewhere in the lands covered by shadows exists an alien creature, the daughter of the greater will, who is the mother of all fingers. Metyr quite literally gives birth to finger creepers, and lots of tiny two fingers are seen sprouting on her body. Just like the two fingers, she can, or at least once could, communicate with the greater will. Do the three fingers come from Meteor? It is unknown whether the three fingers are related to Meteor as well. Finger ruins. Three-finger ruins are vast plains covered in giant stone fingers. From the bird's eye, they look like individual fingerprints. Just like Meteor has a little eye in the middle of her head, the ruins have hanging bells. After sounding them, you get the audience with the mother of fingers herself. Finger Weaver's Cookbook. Notes written by a person who was studying the finger ruins. I wonder if the people came to these territories after they were created, or if they witnessed their creation and came to research the new phenomena. People becoming fingers. Some people in the Shadow Realm desired to become fingers. It is not explained if they wanted to become finger-shaped creatures, or considering the function of fingers both on humans and as megafauna, become more sensitive to the messages from the beyond. Lampreys, amphibian-looking creatures that inhabit and guard the finger ruins. Zullie the Witch suggests lampreys can be the result of an attempt to turn oneself into a finger. Spirit eels, ghost creatures resembling fingers. They appear to have hands and even little feet hidden underground. Can they be the souls of people who wanted to become fingers, similarly to the jellyfish kinfolk being souls of an ancient civilization? Fingerprint nostrum, medicine that looks exactly like Meteor's head, even with the little eye, makes a person feel something wriggle within as their body starts turning into a finger. Finger mimic, mushrooms used by those who wish to become fingers in their concoctions, called the stillborn of the two fingers, meaning the two fingers can in theory reproduce. Finger creepers, a common creature that can be found in the lands between, a living hand with multiple fingers, said to originate from Meteor, although whether the finger creepers can reproduce on their own is unclear. Nails. Why do the two fingers as well as Meteor lack nails, but finger creepers who are said to originate from the mother do have them? Before the DLC I thought, well, the two fingers are God's messengers, while the finger creepers with their many rings and connections to blasphemy may originate from humans, their attempts to imitate other life forms, or even their hands being alive after their death, as we know that the fingers are very important spiritual organs. But during Meteor boss fight, we can see the finger creepers she births, and they do have nails. Finger weapons. Gazing Finger is the weapon made from Meteor's head. Staff of the Great Beyond is Meteor's tail, and Maternal Staff is its imitation. Ringed Finger is a club that origins lie in blasphemy, and it looks like Rykard's finger. Finger magic is an imitation. The sorcery of finger weavers comes from an attempt to imitate lampreys, and is far from actual fingers magic. Meteor and finger creepers use gravity magic, while the two fingers teach faith-based incantations. Frenzy versus three fingers. Is Frenzy the magic of the three fingers? If we didn't have the DLC, this would be the right question to ask following our previous thesis. However, Midra, another failed lord of Frenzied Flame, was very unlikely to visit the Lanedale catacombs. Then, what comes first, the flame or the three fingers? Does the idea and the incantations originate from the three fingers, and there may be other sets of the three digits spreading this idea? Or are the three fingers under the capital simply one of the manifestation of chaos in the lands between? The three fingers location. Why are the three fingers in the catacombs? Were they locked there, or did they spawn there on their own because this place was full of struggle and despair? Maiden of the Three Fingers. Frenzied Flame Seal's description mentions the Maiden of the Three Fingers. Was Hyetta not the only three-finger maiden? The Grape Spirit is still searching for one from the days long gone. Was it Vike's maiden who became the maiden of the three fingers as well? Mating hand, a glove made from infected skin, could have been a weapon literally equal to the touch of frenzy, a way to spread the word of the three fingers. But this parallel is ruined by the existence of poisoned hand and the even more complicated origins of frenzy after the DLC's release. Do all the two fingers share the same agenda? The ones in the Round Table Hall and their brethren on the Divine Towers appear to be similar, however the fingers under the Moonlight Altar are different in shape. Are they even of the same origin as the other pairs of fingers? Were they relocated from the Divine Tower of Liurnia, or were they always hidden underground? And did they share the same agenda as the two fingers guiding the Tarnished? Or did they have very different plan, as they did not abandon Rani after her betrayal of the Greater Will, like they did the other demigods. Instead, they stuck with her through everything, until she ended them with the Fingerslayer Blade. Fingerslayer Blade, hidden artifact of Necron. This blade, originating from a corpse, is proof of the high treason committed by the Eternal City and symbolizes its downfall. It can hurt the Greater Will and its servants. The blade is called this way even before Rani uses it to kill the two fingers under the Moonlight Altar, so I assume the treason committed by Necron was slaying other fingers. Does this mean not only Marika and her demigods were granted their fingers by the Greater Will? The two fingers chose the Lord. Anya translates the words of the fingers. Go to Marika and become her consort. The fingers will so. The two fingers choose Empyreans. From the dialogue with Rani, we learn that she was once an Empyrean, a candidate to succeed Queen Marika in godhood, or in other words serving as a new vessel for the Greater Will. She says that out of all the demigods, the children of Marika, only she, Melania, and Mikela were chosen by their own two fingers and given this title. If the Empyreans are chosen by the fingers, they may not necessarily only be kids of Marika. There are more than 3 deceased two fingers we find in Divine Towers, and we know of an Empyrean who was once defeated by the Queen's Shadow. Baleful Shadows, assassins of the two fingers. The Greater Will would grant their chosen ones a vessel beast to guard and aid them, but also to dispose of them in case of unfaithfulness. Glowmite Queen. Fingerprint seems to be the symbol of Glowmite Queen and her Godskin apostles, although some members of our community like Mr. Scummage Infa also brought up that it looks like a uterus or a womb. It's an eye, okay? An eye. The runes are stored in eyeballs. Some of y'all are freaky, I swear. Godskin Robe. If the symbol of the Glowmite Queen is a fingerprint, and we can see it on the robes of the Godskin Apostles, are they made from literal finger skin? Diminula. The dancers of the village of Diminula have similar fingerprint symbolism on their cloaks. 3 fingerprints. If the 3 fingers communicate through fingerprints, could the 3 giant fingerprints that are the finger ruins have been left by a giant 3-digit hand? 4-toed foul foot. In the lands between, having 3 digits is seen as a bad omen. 5 fingers equal intelligence. Cinque
Dea
is a relic of the beastman culture of Faro Mazula. Its design celebrates a beast's 5 fingers, symbolic of the intelligence once granted upon their kind. How intelligent were the ancient dragons? If the beastmen were the servants of the dragons, surely they were less intelligent than the drakes. Wrong. The ancient dragon lord Placidusax had 5 fingers. Great dragons like Grand Sax and Fortisax had 5.5. They had 2 claws. 5 fingers. Although celebrated by the beastmen of Faro Mazula, having 5 fingers seems to be the norm in the current days. Giants, misbegotten, deathrite birds, men-serpents, ancestral followers, even demi-humans, all these different races have 5 digits on their hands, which means their intelligence is similar to that of humans. It is mostly smaller beasts, like for example dogs, that still have 4 fingers. Lord of Blood. Moog has 6 fingers on one hand. Although the 6th one appears to be a horn, it has its own metacarpal, which suggests that it is indeed a part of his bone structure and not just an outgrowth. Estelle, the cosmic creature sent by the Greater Will to destroy the Eternal Cities, has 6 fingers on its hands. Does it make it more intelligent than the regular residents of these lands? Despite sharing similar origin, the Elden Beast and the Onyx and the Alabaster Lords have regular 5-digit hands. Metyr has 4 fingers. On the other hand, Metyr, also an alien being, only has 4 fingers on her hands. Was she less conscious by design, or was she sent to the lands between in the times so ancient the other species have not even developed to the higher levels of intellect? Rykard. Out of all the inhabitants of the lands between, Lord Rykard might have been the most intelligent, with his impressive 7 fingers on each hand. Notably, there are other hands visible on his serpent body that have 6 fingers, meaning the serpent previously devoured a creature of higher intelligence. The 6-digit hand. During his boss fight, we can see that Godric grafted to himself a hand with 6 fingers of unknown origin. Interestingly, this is also the hand he cuts off in favor of the dragon head grafting, so perhaps it had the least importance or connection to the golden lineage. Grafting. Why is grafting exactly of the hands? Not heads, not legs. Could it be to multiply the fingers, the person's connection to the world? Godric's legs are hands. Godric the Grafted was so obsessed with his finger count he even grafted hands to his legs. I guess toes do not work in the same way. Goldmask. Goldmask, a famous researcher and follower of the Golden Order, would meditate and share his knowledge through the rhythm of his finger. Brother Corin, trained to read the 2 fingers, was able to translate his messages. 3-2-1. 3 fingers in the Leyndell catacombs that want the world to succumb to chaos. 2 fingers from the days long gone that are searching for the Lord to Queen Merica. 1 finger of the ever-brilliant Goldmask that wants the Golden Order to become absolute. Finger heirloom, a relic showing the 2 fingers in their former glory. Fingers cannot speak, yet these are eloquent. Persistently they wriggle, spelling out mysteries in the air. Thus did we gain the words of our faith. We also know that in the days long gone, the 2 fingers were great orators. Did they actually talk, or were people able to understand them without translation? The 2 fingers allegiance. We know that except for Rani, the other demigods were abandoned by their 2 fingers. Then who did the 2 fingers in the Round Table Hall belong to? If we believe in the theory that the Round Table Hall is a memory, were they the fingers that belonged to one of the 3 Empyrean demigods? Or were they the orators from the era before the shattering even occurred? Fingers do speak. There are a few items in the game that feature cipher. White cipher ring, blue cipher ring, coded sword and cipher pada. The latter 2 are said to be weapons given by the 2 fingers. The mysterious text we see is called one of the lost mystic codes said to have been bestowed by the 2 fingers, and the language of light spoken by them. Was it the literal language that the 2 fingers taught its followers, or just the ancient writing system that their servants once used? Demigods items. I know it's the part of the game's mechanics, but there's a reason it is made this way. Do the 2 fingers materialize the items of demigods from the memory of the Earth Tree? And if so, I wonder what else they can bring back into existence. The world of the lands between seems even more like a simulation. Nox Mirror Helm. A large tinfoil hat that can protect the wearer from the influence of the Greater Will. Old Way versus New Way. The symbolism of the 2 and 3 fingers is linked by many to the Great Schism of Christianity and the differences between the sign of cross performed with 2 fingers, as the old believers considered it the symbolism of Christ and his duality of mortal and divine, and the 3 fingers symbolizing the Trinity. Christianity versus paganism. Personally, I argue that the 2 versus 3 fingers better suits the Christianity versus paganism debate, the 2 fingers of the old believers reminding us of Queen Merica, the vessel of the greater will, and the 3 fingers and their ideas of chaos bearing resemblance to the hand of Cebesius, a pagan artifact of the god associated with Dionysus and his cult. Size difference. 2 fingers in the round table hole, dead fingers under the moonlight altar, and the 3 fingers are all different in size. Could they all have different origins, or are they the same species at the different age, making Rani's 2 fingers the most ancient in the group? Burnt fingers. The 3 fingers we find in the underground catacombs appear to be burnt. They also leave burning marks on everything they touch, being hot enough to melt armor. If it's the fire coming from within the fingers, why does Haeda call them burnt, as if they suffered from the fire? After all, the capital of Leyndell was burned down before, and who knows what the 3 fingers went through in their lifetime. Fingerprint stone shield, part of the tomb of an ancient god. The readerless fingers relate their messages through these imprints said to be the very seeds from which frenzy first sprouted. The readerless burnt 3 fingers are still alive and well. So what ancient god is mentioned in the description? Who was sealed under the capital? Who was guided by those 3 fingers before Merica and her 2 fingers? Well guys, it was the longest video I've ever made. I hope you enjoyed this iceberg. It took a lot of research and time to put together, so please support me with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss this crazy stuff together. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you in my next video.